Hey guys, just finished watching Krypton, Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot. This episode was a great episode for this show. I mean, it was really cool jumping into this storyline and setting up Krypton and everything. It was really a fun show and really excited for it. So the first part we start off was first city we are in is Kandor. It's where seg-el lives and with his parents and his grandparents, and we get to start off 200 years before kal-el's birth. And then we ends up taking the whole rest of the story, the rest of the show takes place just less than 200 years away from kal-el's birth, which is unclear, like I've been saying. At what point, on Earth is it right now? As we're following Krypton, what current time is it on Earth, and what time did Adam Strange come from? And all this stuff. So first, just 200 years before kal-el's birth, we get seg-el's grandfathers get sentenced to death for being disloyal to the voice of Ra, which is interesting, playing with that and making the voice of Ra kind of like this kind of fictional god that maybe some people, the scientists, don't really believe in, and is maybe kind of some sort of a anti-figure that's just been causing pain and kind of a destructive figure a little bit in the House of El life type thing, family and everything. And it really is playing with that. I think it really is cool with that. And I like the idea of doing that. It's really different than, on Supergirl, she looks up to it. It's everything that she knows. She knows everything about Rao. And at this point, he's kind of, if Rao didn't exist, then maybe the House of El wouldn't be in all the predicaments that they are in right now. I think that's really cool, playing with that, getting the different version of it there. So it's gonna be cool to see if throughout the show, if we end up getting it closer towards the whole thing where Superman ends up kind of, praying to it, and that's what he thinks to, and that's where Kara gets to stuff, and connecting those things to those dots to things like that in the House of El family line. So that's really going to be cool to see that. Then we get to see all kinds of different other stuff. We see, goes back, and then the scientist Valo is a scientist who becomes who believes that there's life outside of Krypton, and because of that, he's voiced out for that, and he found stuff that he wasn't supposed to find. And so we interested to see how things play with that. Is it just kind of ignorance that the council is not not believing him and wanting to shush him, or is there something else that he found out that's kind of a more deeper conspiracy throughout the whole thing? That could be a cool idea to play with. Then we jump 14 years later, so that makes it 186 years before the birth of Kal-el, and that's really cool with that. And then we get to play with that. You see him seg-el's fighting in a bar with some government officials. I would find out that he's doing that for money, to kind of make some money and betting in the bar, and kind of set that up type thing with the bartender. Then we see Adam Strange already appear there, though he doesn't go up to seg-el just yet. He's still trying to find him. Then we get some military training with Lita Zod, and she gets her hand stabbed by her own mother. It's really interesting to see that, although it's unclear if that clearly is her own mother. I guess it is, whether or not everyone. So it's interesting to see how to play it with that, and how her own mother ends up stabbing her and stuff, and the things that happen later on. We get seg-el tries to bring his father some meds when he kind of forgets it at home, and he ends up stopping the guy from blowing up the place. And in doing that, he ends up getting. Getting bonded or paired to what's his face, his daughter, to don't have it up here. What's her name? Allura Zod. Allura's ex or certain type thing. So that's really going to be cool to play with that, and how we get Nisa Vex, actually gets paired with her for saving him and all that stuff, and it's really interesting to play with that. And then seg-el gets arrested. Lita and Zod ends up letting him go, and we find out they're in a relationship together. That Adam Strange ends up confronting seg-el and kind of gives him the blue crystal. That's, I guess it's the same one that Superman will later go on and throw into the Fortress of Solitude, or just one that he took from the Fortress of Solitude. That's really cool, playing with that. And then he kind of fades away. That's really cool, playing with that. So he's there, but he can't always be there for a long time. It sounds like it. He's only able to show up for a couple of minutes, and then he's gone type thing. Maybe an hour, and that's it. And then he kind of fades back. He has to go back in time, and then he goes back. I think that's really interesting to play with that. So he's not really there. I think that's really cool to play with that. Then we get Adam, and he gives him the crystal, and then we get seg-el's parents are keeping. When he goes home, he tells his parents about the crystal, shows them the crystal. They recognize a symbol on it. That's the House of El, and they end up they withheld some information. You see them talking afterwards as he leaves, and when he takes the crystal with him, actually, they end up his mother says to his father, we need to tell him, and he's not really ready to tell him and stuff. And then seg-el gets kind of paired with Nyssa Vex. We saw that. And then their child will become Karl Vex, who is a male in this thing. We even see the thing how he'll be 170 years old. He'll live. You'll see everything about his life and all that stuff, which is interesting with that, playing with the whole idea of everyone is, there is no natural birth anymore. Everyone is kind of genetically made. I think that's really cool to play with that, and to see if, we know that kal-el in the comics, kal-el is supposed to be one of the few natural births, and one of the rare ones. That's what he was in Man of Steel, and it's the same writers, if I'm not mistaken, as for Man of Steel. So I think it's really interesting to play with that. How, is kal-el's father, is he going to be is jor-el going to be born natural way or the genetically? I mean, at this point, if he's made genetically, since seg-el was kind of changed his name to Sig-Vex, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays. If he does have a son, if he does it anyway, but naturally, he'll probably have the other name, or maybe he has maybe they have he has a child who's later on who's going to be, does he have it genetically? Does he have it naturally? How is that going to happen? I think it's interesting to play off, but that'd be something later on down the road, at least for another. I'd like to see if this show went 10 years, do it 10 years, and then keep going, do another 20 years after that. If this whole show makes it 20 years, 20 seasons, do it for season 10, and then have jor-el grow up from season 10 to season 20. I think that would be an ultimate way for me to do for the show to go. I think I'd like to see that. So it's all in all, it's really cool with that. It's gonna be just to play with that as time goes on. So they get paired and stuff. But the thing about Karl Vex in the comics was she was actually female. She had infiltrated some organization. She was created in 2010 in the comics, but they changed that for this. So I was hoping that he'd be someone from the comics or anything, but nothing really too much in the comics. So nothing really connecting to Superman other than just another Kryptonian from the comics type of thing. So we'll have to wait and see if that one actually gets like if this child of seg-el's at this point will actually become jor-el or whatever, what will happen with this child, whether or not it'll make its way throughout the Genesis process. That'll be interesting to see how that'll play out. Then we get seg-el is sleeping with Lyta Zod. We knew that they were in a relationship together. And then seg-el gets caught late at night, kind of leaving her place. And then when he gets caught, they find the crystal on him. They end up trying to take it away. He beats them up, takes off, and his mother ends up saving him in a skimmer type thing. And that was really cool with that. And that's when she decides to go show him the Fortress of Solitude that Kal-el, his grandfather, her father-in-law, had made type thing. And that was really cool playing with that. We get to see that, and that's again where we see Krypton gets arrested. Kal-el, seg-el's mother, and gets arrested for stealing the skimmer. She won't admit to who she's working for and who else was in the pod, who's in the skimmer with her. And she ends up blaming the name of Black Bolt or Black Orb, Black Ball type of thing. And he was kind of which is a criminal organization, I guess, from another city. It's interesting to play with that and how that's going to be interesting to see the way the things look with that and how they're going to, whatever, if that organization comes in. She was just kind of throwing that name, saying, oh, she works for that, and that's the answer. And it was just a random person. And then we get Tyrell and Kyricel. Seg-el's parents end up getting killed in front of the council by she ends up getting killed by Lyta Zod's mother. So one of the Zods ends up killing, Jaina Zod, which is the mother of Lyta Zod, ends up killing his parents. And pretty much right in front of him, that kind of he's the only one left. So clearly, he's gonna have to survive this whole thing, this whole show at the end of the day, because one, he's the main character, and two, because he's the only House of El left to be able to make his grandson type thing. So that's really going to be cool to play with that, to see who ends up becoming Superman's grandmother, whether it's Lyta Zod or Nisa Vex. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe this is just a name that the computer gave when they gave the name Car-Vex, but we'll have to wait and see if he ends up changing that name to, if all the Vexes die and he decides to bring on the name El and give him a new name, give him the name Jor-el. That could be an interesting idea to see how that plays on, and it'd be interesting to see how long this. Because it's unclear with these genetically, the way they do it scientifically, making another baby and all that, making a baby scientifically and all that. How long does it take? Does it take the same 9 months as a human? How long does that take? Is it going to take longer, faster, shorter? How does that go? And how much involvement do the parents get involved with that? Especially when they're like this, they're just forced to be together. They're not really, wanting to be together. How much connection is that? And because of the situation of how things went down with his parents and all that stuff, is seg-el really going to have that connection to this thing, or is it to him just going to be another thing that's just kind of around there, not really have that connection? Because just like Nisa Vex said when they heard about their son's life, how it's going to go, and he's going to live to this, he's going to die at that age, and all that stuff. She said it was very motherly warming, type thing, and how is that going to affect them, and how is their opinions going to be on the relationship with this child type thing, or is it kind of very, there's no connection to it because there's no love between the two of them. So how's that going to play out as things go on type thing? So that'll be fun to see that. And then we see seg-el, because of, her mother killing his parents. He kind of ends a relationship with Lita's Zod. So that'll be cool to play with that and how things go on with that. And is she ultimately going to be the mother of General Zod later on, who will end up, fighting Superman, or the great-grandmother or the grandmother of General Zod? That'd be cool to play with that, building that up. And already setting up now the strife between the Els and the Zod, and that's really going to be cool to play with that and setting this all up. Or not mistaken, they could have another brother or sisters type thing, whoever will become the actual grandparent of General Zod. I think that'd be quite cool to doing that. And seeing how that goes, because he did say, her father did say he has like 5 or 6 kids type thing, so there could be a bunch of different other, although I know that was Vex actually. There's so many people in here, it's getting confusing to keep track of this, but it would be cool to find out, how many Zods are out there. I think for now on IMDb shows here just 2, her and her mother who killed the Els type thing, the El parents. Seg's parents. So, and then we get Adam Strange kind of is back with the cape, and he meets when seg-el goes back to the fortress, he gets the bartender to help him get there, and he's there, and then Adam Strange pops back up and gives him the cape, pretty much saying that, this guy is coming around, Brainiac is coming around, he's going to start eating up all these planets, and not just your planet, every planet type thing, and if you don't stop him, if you don't stop him now, he puts you out of existence, and then he stops Superman from creating and saving so much other stuff. So I think that's really going to be cool to play with that, and to see, I'd love to see a little bit more, maybe kind of little flashbacks or flash forwards for Adam Strange, as him retelling stories from his timeline when Superman was around, and little rescue stories of Superman, and doing it the way they did it on Supergirl for season 1, by not really casting a Superman, just have someone put on a costume and do it. I mean, heck, you can get the same actor, you can get Cameron Cuff, who plays seg-el, to put on the Superman costume. Don't show his face. Keep his face blurred. Keep his face, darkened as he's zipping by at super speed. Heck, you could probably just do a full CGI version of Superman and not really need to cast an actor, and just get the shadow and the shape that looks like the same actor, looks like seg-el, and then getting little quick stories from Adam Strange. I think that could be a cool idea, and stories of Superman, of how his son, and how stories and things like that. Stories obviously that can't break time and affect seg-el, but just kind of showing how courage Superman was, and how you need to be your planet Superman right now, and this is the courage that you eventually will put into your son. This is how to do that. I think there could be an interesting idea of having stories of Superman motivating seg-el. I think that could be really cool to play with that, with Adam Strange and seg-el. I think it'd be quite interesting with that, and it'd be something, yes, you're missing the time by telling them each other's future, but as long as it's not actually, his future, it's actually his grandson's future, and little stories that kind of Superman motivating people and stuff, could be quite interesting to see that. Like, what would it be like to hear Adam Strange describe his first time meeting Superman, and does Adam Strange know that Superman is Clark Kent? he probably does. And what was it like doing that? First meeting Superman, and then later on finding out that he's Clark Kent, he's Kal-El, finding out all about this. And did Superman send him himself? Did Batman send him himself? I feel like Batman would be someone who maybe sent him, or Adam Strange went on himself. I think it'd be quite interesting to see that. And was there a Supergirl out there at that point? I think it would be all cool to play with that and see how things are going. And is this Adam Strange? From what timeline with Superman? Is this Adam Strange from the 31st century with the Legion of Superheroes? I think that could be cool to play with. Has he met Brainiac 5? So does he know that Brainiacs are not all inherently bad? There are some good. I think it'd be cool to play with that and playing with all kinds of different other stuff, and really seeing how things are going to go with this show is really going to be excited to see that. So all in all, I'm really excited to see that. I remember seeing a lot of different videos about this show that gets me excited for it, and how the Black Mercy is going to be involved. So that'll be cool to see that. All kinds of other stuff that David Ayer, not David Ayer, but I forget the guy's name, but he was excited to be working on this show and be able to use these storylines. Since he's been working, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of the writers. He's been working on Man of Steel, worked on the Green Lantern movie. There's all these different stuff that he's been trying to get done and trying to get used in the movies that he'll probably, now with this show, he'll probably have the option to use this stuff. And I think it's really going to be cool to see that as time goes on. So all in all, this was a great show. Can't wait to see how things kind of set up in here. There is a lot of moving pieces to keep track of. I find that a bit kind of difficult to keep track of all that, and I feel like they're doing that a little bit on purpose, is having so many different storylines. You got to follow this guy's storyline, that guy's storyline. Essentially, you're mostly following seg-el, but he's not, he doesn't have as much screen time as like Supergirl has on Supergirl. Like on Supergirl, you only have to follow really Supergirl, and other people's storylines are very little. Whereas this is a little bit more everyone's storyline going on in the mix of it, and I think that's going to be cool to play with that and how things kind of continue on and seeing how different things continue to connect. And other things I'd like to see throughout this show and the series would be things like Green Lantern and all those different things that would exist already at this point, and finding out how many Green Lanterns are out there. Are the Guardians of the Universe out there? I imagine they would be. Is her a Kryptonian Green Lantern? All that would definitely going to be fun to see that. And hoping that, since it looks like right now we're only going to be sitting in Kandor, and maybe a little bit of things coming from outside of Kandor attacking the city, doesn't really look like we're going to be leaving Kandor too much. I'd hope that we'd be able to, there was some videos with him, with the guy who plays seg-el, Cameron Cuffey, who was at the DC office, and he was like, they showed him like a map of Krypton from the comics in the DC archives, and he was saying that a lot of them are in there, or he's saying that some of these are definitely in the show. So hopefully we can see that and definitely explore all of Krypton, especially with him, leaving, going out to go to the Fortress of Solitude. Maybe we can also use that time to go hide in other places, go visit other cities and all that, and we can see different stuff. And do the Daxamites exist? Do the Daxamites, have the Daxamites and the Kryptonians, do they have that rivalry yet that they have on Supergirl? I think that'd be cool to set that up too, seeing how that would play out. Getting a different version of the Daxamites. Is there the Martians? The Martians, are they exist? Do the Green Martians, the Martian Manhunters, are they alive? Are they, how far are they from them? Do they visit at all? I think that'd be cool. The Thanagar, if I'm not mistaken, we did get there was some stuff about Thanagar and some of the promotional stuff that was he does want to touch upon these, so we might get some Thanagarians popping up in this show. That could be cool, playing with that and seeing them different places, going off to different worlds and stuff. Could all be quite fun to see that. So all in all, it's really going to be cool to see this. Hopefully we get Adam Strange maybe in a costume or something. That could be quite fun to see that, and then it'd be quite cool to see how things kind of play out with all this. I can't wait to see where this show goes. So all in all, I'm excited for this show, and I can't wait to see episode 2 next week. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Season 1, episode 1 of Krypton, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Kal-el, my future grandson. This is the story of the House of El. The story of your family isn't how we died, but how we lived.